Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating ancient story. It's got, well, everything. Incredible beauty, deep spiritual achievement, but also this really shocking event.
Yeah, a dark event that challenged a whole community, actually. But it also led to some profound wisdom.
Exactly. We're diving into the Uppalavaṇṇātherīvatthu. It's a story from the Buddhist tradition about a figure named Uppalavaṇṇātherī.
Right, and our source is an excerpt from a commentary on the Dhammapadaṭṭhakathā, which, is already a classic text full of ethical teachings.
So our mission, as always, is to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts for you. We'll look at Uppalavanna's life, this disturbing incident which led to a really key teaching.
About good and bad actions, yeah. And then there's another lesson about what enlightenment really means.
And it all wraps up with a major practical change for the nuns community. So Uppalavanna's life, where should we start? It goes way back, doesn't it?
It really does. We're talking about a destiny set in motion 100,000 kalpas ago. It's almost impossible to imagine that length of time.
100,000 kalpas.
Yeah. It started with a wish she made before a previous Buddha, Padumuttara. And over countless lifetimes, she built up immense good karma, immense merit.
Which led to good rebirths, presumably.
Exactly. Rebirths in heavenly realms, rebirths among humans, always kind of moving closer to that goal of enlightenment.
So she had this powerful spiritual momentum. Then, fast forward to the time of our Buddha, Gautama Buddha, where does she reappear?
So in this lifetime, she's born into a rich merchant's family, right in the city of Savatthi, which was a major center at the time.
Okay, and her name, Uppalavanna, that's significant too, right?
Very significant. It basically means she who has the color of the blue water lily. Her complexion was said to resemble the heart, the very center of a blue water lily.
So incredibly beautiful.
Legendarily so. And, well, that beauty actually caused a big problem for her father.
A problem? How so?
Well, kings, princes, wealthy merchants from all over India, Jambudvipa, were sending gifts, demanding to marry her. Her father was stuck. He couldn't possibly say yes to one without offending, maybe even starting wars with, all the others. He couldn't satisfy everyone.
Right, an impossible situation. So what did he do? He came up with a pretty unusual idea, didn't he?
He really did. He spoke to her and basically asked, look, would you consider ordaining, becoming a nun?
And how did she react? I mean, given the circumstances.
She was completely ready. The text describes her as being in her final existence before liberation, Pachimapavika.
Yeah.
So his words were like soothing oil poured on her head, a perfect fit.
So she just agreed.
Instantly became a bhikkhuni, a Buddhist nun. It was clearly her path.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Such a quick decision, but it sounds like it was deeply resonant for her. And her spiritual progress was just as quick.
Incredibly quick. Very soon after she ordained, it was her turn to do the duties in the Upasatha hall. That's the communal hall for observances.
Okay, like chanting and meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where her meditation practice really took flight.
How did that happen? What did she do?
Well, she lit the lamp, swept the hall, standard duties. But then she focused on the lamp flame. She took the flame itself as her meditation object, her nimitta, and just kept looking at it, focusing.
Interesting. Just focusing on a flame.
Yes, and from that intense focus, she developed what's called Tejokasita meditation. It's a practice centered on the fire element, using that visual concentration.
And this led somewhere significant.
Hugely significant. It basically catapulted her. This practice became the foundation for her to rapidly attain arahatship, full enlightenment.
Wow. Just like that.
Well, building on her past merit, yes. And she didn't just get enlightened, she gained patsibambita, that's deep analytical knowledge, and abhinya, which are often translated as supernormal powers.
So a complete and swift awakening. Incredible.
Truly remarkable. A testament to that long journey she'd been on.
Okay, now we have to shift to the darker part of the story. This disturbing event that happened in a place called Anhavanna.
Yes, the blind forest. It's a tough part of the narrative, but crucial. So Uppalavanna was returning from some travels and went to stay in this forest. And importantly, at that time, nuns were allowed to live in forests. People had actually built her a little hut there.
Okay, and this is where the incident occurs. Who was involved?
The perpetrator was her own maternal cousin, a man named Nanda Mashava. And the text is clear. He had been infatuated with her, maybe obsessed, since before she became a nun.
Her cousin. Oh, that makes it even worse.
It does, and it was premeditated. He heard she was back, went to the hut before she arrived, and hid under the cot she would use.
He hid, waiting for her. That's horrifying.
Absolutely chilling. So Uppalavan comes in, she closes the door, she sits down on the cot. Her eyes are still adjusting, coming in from the sunlight into the dim hut.
Yeah,
And then he comes out from under the cot, gets on it, and assaults her.
Oh, no.
Even as she's crying out, warning him, "Don't perish, fool, don't perish," telling him he's destroying himself with this action, he still goes through with it.
That's just awful. And the consequences for him were immediate.
Incredibly immediate and dramatic. The texts say the great earth split in two, like it couldn't bear his evil. He literally sank into the ground right there and was instantly reborn in Mahavichi, one of the worst hells.
Wow. A direct, visible karmic result.
A very powerful illustration of it, yes. The immediate ripening of an incredibly negative action.
So this awful event, it obviously didn't stay secret. It got reported up the chain.
Yes. Uppalavan told other nuns, they told the monks, the bhikkhus, and eventually the news reached the Buddha himself.
And the Buddha's response became a major teaching, didn't it? The first core teaching from this story.
That's right. He used this terrible event to teach about the nature of evil actions. He explained that when foolish people do bad things, at first it can seem sweet, pleasant.
Wait, how so?
Like eating honey or sugar, he said. There can be an immediate gratification, a perceived benefit, maybe a thrill, or getting what you want in that moment. That's where the saying comes from. The fool thinks it is honey, madhuva manyati balo.
Right, the immediate payoff blinds them to the real nature of the act.
Exactly. It seems good then. The Buddha said this feeling lasts as long as the evil deed has not ripened its fruit.
Ah, but the ripening always comes.
Always. When the evil deed ripens, the Buddha continued, then the fool experiences suffering, dukkha, which could be punishment in this life, loss, mental anguish, or like Nandamaka, a terrible rebirth.
That's such a clear explanation of karma. Not just cosmic justice, but almost a psychological truth, too. We chase the honey sometimes, don't we? Ignoring the eventual sting.
We absolutely do. Think about short-term gains versus long-term consequences in, well, anything. Finance, relationships, environment.
Yep.
It's a timeless insight.
And did this teaching have an impact on the people who heard it directly from the Buddha?
A huge impact. The commentary says many people listening attained Sotapadhi, stream entry, that first irreversible step towards enlightenment. Others gained different spiritual insights, too.
So, turning tragedy into a powerful lesson. Now, there was a second teaching that came later, also linked to Uppalavan's being an arahant, an enlightened being.
Yes, this came up in a discussion later. People in the Dhamma hall were debating, essentially, do arahants still enjoy sensual pleasures?
What was the argument?
Some argued, well, they're not dead trees or anthills, they're living beings, flesh and blood, so surely they must still indulge, right?
It's an understandable question, I suppose. How did the Buddha address that?
He flatly refuted it. He stated clearly, arahants do not cling to or indulge in sensual pleasures. They experience the world, but they aren't bound by desires for it.
Okay, but how did he explain that? It sounds subtle.
He used these incredibly simple, elegant analogies, really vivid ones.
Like what?
First, he said sensual pleasure is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf.
Okay.
It doesn't stick, it doesn't stain, it just rolls right off. Pakarpateva varibindu.
Ah, I see. It touches, but doesn't cling.
Precisely. And the second analogy, like a mustard seed placed on the sharp tip of an awl.
An awl. Like a pointy tool.
Exactly. Can a tiny mustard seed possibly stay balanced on that sharp point?
No way it would fall right off. Aragariva sasabo.
Right. So just like the water drop in the mustard seed, sensual desires, simply don't stick to the mind of an arahant. They experience sensations, but there's no attachment, no craving, no clinging.
That's profound. It's not about being unfeeling, but about being completely free from the grip of those feelings or desires.
That's the essence of it, freedom from entanglement. He summed it up with a verse. One who is not soiled by sensual pleasures, like water on a lotus leaf, or a mustard seed on the tip of an awl him I call a Brahmin, meaning a perfected, holy person.
Beautiful analogies. Now, besides these deep teachings, the assault on Uppalavanna also led to a very practical, lasting change, didn't it, for the nuns' safety?
Yes, a major change in their daily lives and monastic structure. After this incident, and probably thinking about the general vulnerability of nuns living alone in forests, the Buddha took action.
What did he do?
He summoned King Pasenadi, the ruler of Kosala, where Savatthi was.
And what did he say to the king?
He laid out the situation. He explained that, both men and women give up homes, families, wealth to ordain and seek enlightenment, often living simply in places like forests.
Right.
But, he pointed out, these nuns were facing harassment. Lustful men, disrespectful people were bothering them, hindering their spiritual practice, making it unsafe.
Which is completely counterproductive to why they ordained in the first place.
Absolutely. So the Buddha proposed a change. He suggested it was more appropriate, safer, for the community of bhikkhunis to live inside the city, within the town's protection.
And the king agreed.
Immediately. King Pasenadi saw the wisdom in it and had residences built specifically for the nuns on one side of the city.
So a dedicated, safer space within the community.
Exactly. And the text notes that from that day forward, bhikkhunis lived within villages or towns, not in remote forests. It was a significant shift to ensure their safety and ability to practice without that kind of fear or obstruction.
So wrapping this all up, we've covered quite a journey. Uppalavan's incredible path to enlightenment.
Spanning vast amounts of time, culminating in that swift awakening.
Then the horrific incident that led to that stark teaching about karma. The honey that turns bitter.
Yeah, how evil deeds might seem sweet at first, but inevitably lead to suffering when they ripen.
And the equally profound teaching about arahatship, using those images of the lotus leaf and the mustard seed to show true detachment from sensual pleasures.
That freedom from clinging, yeah.
And finally, this very real-world change, the move for nuns into towns for their safety and well-being, a direct result of what happened to Uppalavanna.
It really is a story packed with lessons, from the cosmic scale of karma over millennia to the very practical details of monastic life and safety.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? That idea of the honey of now versus the ripening later and what real freedom or liberation means. How do those ancient ideas challenge the choices we make, in our own lives, with all the instant gratification pushed on us today? Something to definitely ponder.